Hello everybody, today we are going to be making homemade cinnamon rolls. So to start off in this mixing bowl, I have 2 eggs, 1/3 of a cup of butter that was softened, 1/2 a cup of sugar, and off to the side over here, I have 1 cup of warm milk with 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast that is blooming in it. So now we need a teaspoon of salt to go down in here. Teaspoon of salt, and then it's getting 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Alright, I'm putting 3 cups in, and then my last cup of flour, which would be that 4th cup there, I'm going to add in a little bit at a time while it's on my stand mixer, and I'll be using the dough hook attachment for this. So our yeast looks like it has bloomed pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. And then just scrape out the container. And then this is going onto the stand mixer. Alright, this is what your dough should look like whenever it's done. It's still going to be kind of sticky. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this into this bowl over here. Usually I would keep it in that mixing bowl, but I need it for something else. So what you're going to do is you're going to grease your bowl. Even if you're leaving it in that mixing bowl from your mixer, you still have to grease it. So you're going to grease the bowl. We're going to turn our dough out into that bowl. And then we're going to put saran wrap over top of this. And while I've been mixing my dough up, I've had my oven preheating behind me to 350. That's what this gets cooked at. And so I'm just going to sit this bowl on top of my stove. That way the heat from the top of the stove from that oven being warmed will get this dough warm, and that'll help it rise quicker. Okay, while our dough is rising on top of the stove, we're going to go ahead and mix up the filling that goes inside of these cinnamon rolls. So another 1/3 of a cup, which is 5 tablespoons of butter softened. I got mine a little bit too soft in the microwave, but that'll be fine. 1 cup of brown sugar. And then 3 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. And I'm just going to mix mine with my little spatula here. Alright, so our dough has risen like it was supposed to. I've got a cookie sheet ready with some parchment paper on it. That's what I'm going to put my cinnamon rolls on. But you could do yours in like a little round cake pan or a pie plate, whatever you can fit them in. I just like doing mine on a cookie sheet. So now we're ready to roll these out. I'm going to take a little bit of flour and dust my work surface, and then just a little bit on my hand to put on my rolling pin. And then we're just going to turn this dough right out onto that floured surface. And it should still be a little bit sticky, but it shouldn't be so sticky that it's getting caught all over your hands. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit more of that flour on top just to keep my rolling pin from sticking. And we're going to try to roll this out in a rectangle shape. That way it's easier for us to cut our strips that we need. And you're going to keep rolling this until you get it to about 1/4 of an inch thick. Alright, so now it's time to add our cinnamon filling that we made. So you're just gonna spread that out in a nice thin, even layer all over this pastry. I'm gonna go ahead and spread mine out, and then I will come right back. And if yours is a little bit too thick, you can add a couple teaspoons of warm water to it. All right, so it's completely spread. All we're gonna do now, I use a pizza cutter. You can use a knife or however you wanna do it. Some people roll their dough up first and then cut slices for their cinnamon rolls. I like to just cut strips the way that it is and then roll them up. But that's completely personal preference on your part. So I'm gonna cut about a 2 to 3 inch wide strip. I'm gonna do this all the way down, and then I'm gonna cut those in half. That looks like about the middle. All right, so all you're gonna do is, I like to start from the middle where all the filling's at. And you're just gonna start rolling them up. And then that is what it should look like once you've got it rolled. And then I'm just gonna sit this onto my cookie sheet with that parchment paper. I'm gonna roll the rest of these, sit them on there. And all right, all of our cinnamon rolls are on our cookie sheet. These are gonna sit for 20 minutes on top of that warm stove. I don't have the stove top on, just the oven that's been preheating. So we're gonna leave that sit for about 20 minutes to let these get a second rise in. Then they are going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes. All right, our last step is to mix up the icing that goes on top. Some people just like to do a plain kind of royal icing where it's just powdered sugar and a little bit of milk to make it glaze, but I like cream cheese frosting on top of mine. So we're gonna take 1 block of cream cheese that's been softened, about half a teaspoon of vanilla, and then 2 cups of powdered sugar. Okay, so this is mine after 24 minutes in the oven at 350. If you do yours in a round cake pan, they won't fall over like mine did. I did mine on a cookie sheet because I made so many of them, and because there was space between them as the dough rose, some of them toppled over. But if you do them where they're butted up against each other, you won't have that issue. They all taste the same. I really don't care if mine fall sideways. But now we're gonna take our icing that we made up earlier, and we're just gonna drop a little glob like that onto each and every one of them. Let it sit for a second to melt a little, and then we're gonna spread it around, and then these are ready to serve.